Hi, I'm attorney Eric Lewis with Lewis Legal Services in Indianapolis. Today I want to talk to you about how you may be able to save a lot of money on your car loan through Chapter 13 bankruptcy utilizing something called a cramdown. Now, as with all my videos, this shouldn't be construed as legal advice, but instead as helpful guidance in your decision making, and that this guidance is intended for Indiana residents, tailored to the application of bankruptcy law in Indiana courts. Now, you will hear me say quite often that Chapter 13 bankruptcy is a powerful toolbox that we utilize in reorganizing debt into a manageable repayment plan. What I want to talk about today is just one tool in that box, the Chapter 13 cramdown of secured loans. The focus in this video is cramming a car loan down to replacement value. Now keep in mind, a cramdown of a loan is not available to everyone in every case because there are certain requirements that must be present. But when it's an available option, it can potentially save you thousands of dollars on your car loan by cramming the remaining debt that you owe down to the replacement value of the vehicle rather than simply what you still owe on it. I'm going to walk you through this with a real example and show you how it works. Okay, let's get started. We're going to talk about what the bankruptcy cramdown is. In particular, the timing involved, that's the 9-10 rule, and how you come up with the value in terms of what's going to be expected on the repayment, the cramdown of the loan. Some of the terminology that you're going to hear me use, collateral, that is just simply the item that's pledged as security for repayment of a loan. The focus in this vehicle when we talk about collateral is going to be a car, a motor vehicle. And then a little bit of terminology that I think sometimes is confusing to people, the debtor-creditor relationship. The debtor is the person who owes money. The creditor is the person or entity to which the money is owed. All right, so what is this cramdown anyway? Well, the cramdown is forcing a creditor to accept payment on collateral equal to the replacement value of the collateral rather than the balance owing. Now, sometimes there may be a huge difference between what is owed and the value of the collateral. Sometimes the difference is negligible or nothing at all. Again, this is situational. It depends on the amount owed, the condition of the collateral, and some other factors. So what can you cram? Well, again, our focus in this video is vehicles. So the bankruptcy code tells us that it has to be at least 910 days between when you did the financing and when you file your bankruptcy case for you to be able to cram down a loan. That's essentially 2.5 years. So if it's been less than 910 days, you can't cram down the loan. More than 910, it's fair game. So that's the 9-10 rule. Now you can cram other things in terms of personal property here. The example I use is furniture, a loan on furniture, if it's been at least a year. Other things like mortgages on investment properties as opposed to your personal residence, if it's been at least a year. So the bankruptcy code tells us how you come up with that cram down value, and it's based on replacement value, which they define as the price a retail merchant would charge for property of that kind, considering the age and condition of the property at the time value is determined. In our case, the time in which the value is determined is when you file the bankruptcy case. How much was the collateral worth in terms of replacement value on that date? All right, so we're going to get into this with a real life example from a prior client. This is a retail installment contract and security agreement. It's one of the things that when you go to purchase a car at the dealership and you sign all that paperwork, I think it's one of the papers that's probably the most important, but it's also one that a lot of people just kind of gloss over. And in particular, what I want you to look at here is this truth in lending disclosure right in the middle of the page. So the purchase price for this vehicle was just under $16,000. Clearly, bad credit, 21.91%. The terms of the loan, this is a 72-month loan, meaning 6 years. So essentially, this person agreed to pay $403.39 a month for 6 years, and that car that you thought was going to cost you 16 grand in actuality cost a little over 29,000 when it's all said and done. Why? Again, bad credit, 21.91% interest. So let's take a look at the history on this loan. So essentially, we know the original finance balance was $15,900 and some change. 8 months into payment, the balance was $15,385. That's where I want to start looking here. Now, forget about these entries where it goes into delinquency 30 days, 60 days, and then goes under collection. That's when the wheels fell off. What I want to look at with you here is basically maintaining that payment at $403 a month, how little of a dent it made into the principal balance because so much of that monthly payment went to interest. So $15,385 was the balance 8 months into the repayment, into the payment of the loan. And after 27 months, a little over 2 years, the balance has only gone down less than $2,000. That's what bad credit does. So, and there were a couple of instances where the debtor missed a payment. I think one here. There was also a month here, but that wasn't a big deal because it looks like she made up for it the next month. So for the most part, she maintained these regular payments of about $403 a month, a little deviation here and there. But again, after 27 months, had only made a dent into it less than $2,000 because this is a 6-year loan. This basically represents the first 3 years. Okay, so let's compare this and show you what this original contract balance looks like versus what we did in cramming down this loan in the Chapter 13. So it had been over 910 days since she financed the vehicle. At the time of filing bankruptcy, due to the late fees and everything else, the balance owing was $14,507. So we looked at this vehicle and found that the replacement value, the market value at the time of filing, the vehicle was only worth around $7,600. Of course, you could compare the contract rate at the outrageous 21.91% interest versus our proposed rate, which was based on the till rate at the time. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about what till was, but till was basically a Supreme Court case that said what creditors could be paid through a Chapter 13 cram down was basically prime rate plus 1 or 2 points for risk. So 5.25% interest is what we were able to push in terms of this cram down. It was a 36-month Chapter 13 repayment plan, and it's just coincidence that there was roughly 3 years remaining as well on the contract balance. But the focus here that I want you to see is that before bankruptcy, she had paid a little over $8,800. And we know based on that truth in lending disclosure that if she had seen that loan full through outside of bankruptcy, she would have paid $29,044.08. So having paid $8,856, she owed at least $20,188 to go to pay off that vehicle. But because we were able to cram down the value to $7,600 based on the market value, the replacement value, lowered the interest rate substantially to 5.25%, she was able to pay $8,291.68 to pay off that vehicle through the Chapter 13 reorganization. So instead of paying $20,188, she paid $8,291.68. And as I note here, if she had not filed bankruptcy and just continued to maintain the payments outside, of course, after 6 years, she would end up paying through the nose. But because she did a cram down in a Chapter 13, that unpaid balance was discharged as part of her Chapter 13 reorganization. And that is how the cram down works. Okay, so I hope you found that walkthrough informative. As with many things in bankruptcy, not everyone's case is the same, and there's a lot of variation. But if you're considering filing bankruptcy and it's been at least 2.5 years since you financed your car, you may want to look into the possibility of cramming down that loan. Alright, that's it for today. Reach out to me with any questions, comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.